I'll have to make clear later on when I preface this that you all, interestingly enough, took more sort of an opposite statement from, or a position from what you're arguing a position opposite from what you actually took in class, which I think it makes it more educational, like I said. Okay, so cross-X, is that what we have next?
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions?
Why should a school be more concerned with being trained? I think they should be more concerned about educating their students. They're more concerned about how they look than the quality of education they're providing. It doesn't seem right to me at all.
Well, the quality of education, like if they're not going to teach their students how to write properly, then their quality of education just goes down the drain. They need to put a structure behind. Not every kid's going to be able to write and slang. Like there's the gang terms. There's just baby talk. There's
Interesting, all those things are found in the real world.
Yeah,
so to educate those people on how to understand those things better.
Exactly. It's not going to register the same if you read it in baby talk or in all those other type of languages. It's not going to register in somebody's brain what your point is going to try and be. So you need to make it more mature to get your point across, because everybody's going to think you're just some stupid person who doesn't know how to write a proper paper. If you're
but why would they necessarily think that? Let's say not just like baby talk or slang or things like that, but like Spanglish, for example, or something like that. Well, as immigration is increasing and as diversity is becoming more of an issue, what would be the harm in simply, instead of alienating students by saying you can't speak a certain way, how about instead if we educated teachers in how to accommodate to different students and different nationalities and ethnicities? Instead, if we put more of an emphasis rather on educating the teachers and educating those students as well, rather
but
than...
if you do that, then what about other countries? When you go to France, you go to
what about the fact that America doesn't have a national language? I mean, that's
no written national
so
language.
without having a national language, how can you affirm a standardized language in writing if our country as a whole doesn't have an official national language itself? It's not even standardized in our own document.
And on top of that, you mentioned going to a different country. Almost all other countries' education systems encourage you to completely learn 2 languages, not just one.
Yeah, but that's 2 languages. That's not a dialect in the same language.
Well, okay. What would be the harm then? And let's say like a place in like Southern California, for example, where there's a lot more Spanglish that might be spoken, and you have a teacher that also maybe is Hispanic and understands both English as we know and Spanish as well. What would be the problem in having, say, an assignment? Maybe not the whole time. Maybe you could still encourage standard written English. But what if you had an assignment that was just focused in on, if it was a largely Hispanic class anyway, you can write a paper in Spanglish because the teacher would understand it and the students would understand it. If you want to, I'm saying, what would be the problem? I'm saying is because by mandating that only the use of that could be used, it limits a teacher's and a student's case-by-case scenario to where they would have the option. If you have a largely Hispanic classroom and you are a Hispanic teacher yourself and understand that, I guess what I'm asking is what would be the harm in allowing the classroom? Yeah, and allowing exactly.
Well, think about this. In 200 years, if we do this, and we keep doing this and doing this, over time, English will change as a language. So
but isn't it always changing?
Well, imagine this. Imagine in 200 years if the Supreme Court's trying to interpret a law that was made today.
But don't we have that problem now, though? That's what I'm saying, because the language is good.
If you're not speaking the same language and you look back on that law and you don't have the cultural background, it doesn't make sense.
Well, perhaps we need to keep updating it then, right?
So you should keep your language. So for instance, imagine 500 years ago, before the Bible was written in English, there was no standard English. The nobles all spoke French, and that was kind of the accepted language of England, because that was the language the nobles spoke. But John Wycliffe and a few other people, they translated the Bible into the language of the common people. And there were, of course, lots of different dialects. But as there was a greater need for religious differences, people started to read the Bible. And so they had to conform to that, and that's what created standard English nowadays. That's why when people moved over to the United States from England, they had the same English. Granted, there's different slangs, there's different...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Isn't it just a natural evolution of language? And as it's been indicative here in America, especially that the language will evolve, that the language is constantly changing. I guess what I don't understand is why run from that? I mean, why don't, if we instead collectively embrace that language is going to change?
All right, David, and then we're going to move on to something, and we're going to move. Finish your statement.
Thinking of one thing. You're basically saying like the East Coast and speaks the same way as the rest of the country. The rest of the country speaks differently.
Right.
What you're arguing is that, yes, it's going to change. That means the East Coast is going to go that way, the West Coast is going to go that way, they're going to go that way. That means West Coast is not going to be able to talk with the East Coast because they don't understand each other.
Okay,
I have a
stop,
basis.
stop. This is going great. Sometimes it's good to stop something when it's going well. Sometimes it is. It's like you want more, you know? It's like, and you've made me think of a couple really things that I haven't thought about bringing up that are very important. The fact that the printing the Bible suddenly that happened at almost the same time as the Protestant movement, didn't it? I mean, you had one church, suddenly you print the Bible, you have a multitude of Christian churches.
Just the Catholics, they only spoke, the priests only spoke.
Yeah.
in Latin.
That's
They were the
interesting.
ones that were allowed to read it.
And it was 1600s, only 500 years after the movable press was invented in China. I don't know what that means. All right, who's doing first negative?
Should we really bother with this, or
What's that?
should we really bother with this? I mean, I guess this debate
We have.
is probably...
Wait, what time is class in officially?
2 minutes.
Oh crap! I thought we had 6 minutes. Okay, whoops. All right.
I think we should just kill it here, because the debate was really more educational.
Yeah, the debate is more
Yeah.
educational.
Why did it work so well?
One.
What about this activity? Why was it successful? How do I do this again? Do you think debates are the answer or what?
For some reason, you
I like debates.
I feel like I have more points for my
favorite.
favorite.
Okay, it's been successful. Why was it successful?
we get to argue.
I think it's successful.
You got to argue with each other.
We had to
Easier to argue with each other than it is with a teacher.
But we're debating over a topic that's like huge in our class right now.
Okay.
I think doing the devil's advocate thing really.
Exactly.
I think that was-
I did force you
I
to take the
see
opposite
more-
position. You think that helped?
Oh, that always helps.
I've always heard you're
Most
supposed
points
to do it that
I
way.
can refute now.
All right.